So in the last Adobe Photoshop CC tutorial and training and essential training in this series, I talked about the text tool. Today, I want to talk about some of the selection tools you have. First, our selection tools are going to be up here. We have the, I forget what this called. Yeah, the rectangular marquee tool, and we also have lasso tool and the magnetic lasso tool. But I'll get into how you can access that later. You'll see there's this little triangle icon at the bottom. If you click and hold on one of the tool icons that have that, you'll see there are actually multiple tools inside of this. So say I click on the zoom on the hand tool, the move tool. If I click and hold, I can either get to the hand tool or the rotate view tool. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on the rectangular marquee tool. And you can also do that by pressing the M key on your keyboard. And to make a selection, click and drag. So I'm just going to click and drag over a part of my photograph, and you can see I made a selection. If I put my mouse inside of the photograph, you can see that I can click and drag and I can move that selection. So I just want to deselect that, so I'm going to go to select, deselect. You can also press the keyboard shortcut Control D or Command D on a keyboard, on a Mac I mean. There's another way you can make selections, and that's you can click and drag, but while you're clicking and dragging, you can hold down the Shift key, and that'll align the proportions, and so it'll constrain the proportions on a 1-to-1 ratio, so you'll get an absolute precise square. And again, you can, if you look at it right there, you can see I have a perfect square. I'm going to go ahead and go up to select, deselect, just to get rid of that selection. Now another way you can select is with the elliptical marquee tool, and we can do that by clicking and holding on the rectangular marquee tool and selecting the elliptical marquee tool, and we can click and drag to make a selection, and you see kind of some marching ants. I'm going to go ahead and go to select, deselect, Control D on your keyboard, Command D on a Mac. Or we can click and drag and hold down the Shift key, and that'll constrain the proportions. So now we get a perfect circle. I'm going to go over to select, deselect, Control D on a keyboard on a Mac, Commands D on a Mac, on Control D on Windows, Commands D on a Mac. I also want to briefly introduce you to the lasso tool and the magnetic lasso tool. So first we're going to go ahead and select the lasso tool. And the lasso tool, the way that basically works is you can click and drag. So as you can see, I'm dragging around, and once I circle back around to my starting point, you see it makes a selection. So I'm going to go ahead and press Control D on my keyboard, Command D on a Mac. And this really allows you to get rough selections. So I'm going to press down the spacebar key and hold the spacebar key, click and drag and go down. And say I want to select this tree trunk, or the lower part of it that are darker. Say I want to work with the colors and I want to brighten them up, I want to add more contrast to them. I can click and drag and make a quick selection around that tree trunk. And you can see I can make really rough edits and really interesting shapes here. So I have kind of a weird shape there where I select kind of the tree. I'm going to go ahead and go to select, deselect. And I want to also talk about the magnetic lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool kind of works in the same way, but instead of clicking and dragging, you just click once. Oh wait, I'm thinking of the wrong tool. This one will automatically, this is the magnetic one, will kind of, it'll kind of, I can't even see where the beginning is. I'm going to go ahead and I can't see where I started. I'm going to go ahead and deselect that. What I was thinking of is this tool. This is where you click and drag. So I can click and drag and make different selections. And then if you put your mouse back to where the starting point is, you can make a select. So you can make interesting selections. I'm going to go to select, deselect. just to get rid of that. So there are a number of different selection tools, and I'll talk about later about why you might want to make selections and how this can be helpful. But for now, I wanted to get you familiar with selections and how you can make selections in Adobe Photoshop CC. I'll see you in the next video.